Welcome to First Line Training Center, the newest leader in standardbred training facilities. Hear what trainers are saying about First Line Training Center.
My name is Bill Companion, and I've been training here at the First Line Training Center for about 3 years now. It was first the Waples Training Center since Joe took it over a year ago. We have a 5/8 mile track and a half-mile jogging track and a 1 mile trail. The thing I like about the place mostly is that my horses don't get sick. I think the air up here is so much better, and I've been at quite a few of the training centers around here, and so far that the track itself is always in good shape in the wintertime, and we're not very far from Mohawk. The paddocks are nice, and we have an exerciser, and Joe's a workaholic. I mean, the place has just been amazing since he's taken it over. I mean, he's done so much work out here. I mean, I get tired watching him.
Harness Central today comes to you from the region of Waterloo Airport. I'm your host, Greg Gangle, and today we're doing something a little bit different. Each and every year, Hanover Shoe Farms sends a plane down to Canada prior to the yearling sales, just for Canadian owners and trainers and the connections to fly down to to Hanover Shoe Farms to inspect their yearlings. And Harness Central today is just going to give a brief overview of why they do it. We're going to speak with Murray Brown and Jim Simpson, and I hope you enjoy it. We're now at Hanover Fairgrounds, and I'm joined by Murray Brown. Murray, you're the Public Relations Director here for Hanover Shoe Farms, and for as many years as you can remember, Hanover has been in charge of charting a plane to Canada to bring trainers, owners, and connections down to look at your yearlings. First of all, how did this come about, and why do you do it?
Well, we've been doing it for many, many years before I got here. At one time, the farm owned its own plane. We had our own pilot, and we would bring people from pretty much all over North America here to look at our yearlings. I think it goes back to the philosophy that Mr. Shepherd, Lawrence Shepherd, who founded the farms, once told me. He said, "Your job, boy, is not to sell these yearlings; it's to expose them." And by bringing people down to look at them, we do that. We expose them, and they become interested, hopefully, in what we have to sell, and they evidence it at Harrisburg in the coming weeks.
Does the plane only go to Canada?
Right now it does, although if we had a significant group of people from virtually anywhere reasonable, that could get together, we'd consider chartering it from most places.
Given the fact of the philosophy of really exposing your yearlings to the public, why do you think that the majority of other breeding farms don't consider this?
It's just very, very expensive, Greg. It's we do a cost analysis after each year, and some years it pays off real big, and other years maybe not so much. But it's a gamble we're willing to take.
But obviously the response from the general public of owners, trainers, and connections that it's worth doing year after year.
Very much so. Very much so.
Murray, in this day and age, how tough is it to really get trainers, owners, and different people from the industry down here, given the fact of this crazy racing schedule that we're on, and the Breeders' Crown isn't far away, and it must be just really tough to get people down here to look at yearlings?
It becomes more and more difficult every year, Greg, and the shame of it is it's more for their good than our good. You can the person who is willing to do his homework can do it much easier in a relatively quiet environment. They can see the horses where they normally are, and the one place you really don't want to look at a yearling to buy is at the sale. I think the wise buyer, the person who does his homework, will do his homework well before the sale and use a sale only to confirm his opinion.
Just talking about your yearlings in general as a whole, how do you feel it stacks up compared to last year in terms of quality?
Greg, I think we're very, very strong. I think we're strong throughout. We maybe don't have quite as many real top yearlings. By top, I mean high-priced yearlings. But I think on the other hand, we've never been stronger through the middle, the upper middle, and I think our bottom is virtually non-existent.
You're the general manager of the Harrisburg sale. In this tough economic times, how do you feel it'll stack up?
I think it'll be all right. I expect the yearling sale to be very, very good. I expect racehorses to sell extra good, and I think breeding stock might be a little tough.
Well, I appreciate you giving us some insight, and thanks again for saving me a seat on the plane. It was truly worth it.
My pleasure, Greg. Thank you.
We're now with Jim Simpson. Jim, you're the president and CEO of Hanover Shoe Farms. This is my first time being down here. Can you give us a brief description of the place? I know it's 3,000 acres, but can you talk about the employees? I understand that there's 50 houses for the employees, and just an overall description.
Well, you're right. About 3,000 acres, 100 employees, 50 houses, 240 miles of fence, and a peak population, which would be right now, is about 1,100 horses.
And I understand that you're still acquiring more land.
We acquired half of the Cosmos farm a few years ago, and we're always looking.
This year, coming into your stallion barn is Well Said. He's a top 2 or top 3-year-old colt this year. Last year, you had Some Beach Somewhere, the top, maybe the greatest pacer of all time. How tough is it year after year to get these top stallions with other competition out there? It's certainly not easy. Is it your broodmare band that is really allows you to acquire these top stallions?
I think that's just it. I think it is the broodmare band. For example, in addition to Some Beach Somewhere, we spent $2.4 million on broodmares alone last year.
Wow.
Well, you have to move forward or go backwards. You can't stand still in this business.
Is it just the fact of always constantly upgrading your broodmares?
Yeah, that's the way this farm's been operated since the inception.
What has changed here in the last 30 years? It's a working man's farm. It's not really a show place, so to speak. What's changed?
Nothing. Basically, it is a working farm. I always like to quote Mr. Shepard, who was answering the same observation that this is a working man's farm, and he said, "Here we raise horses, not fences."
In 2004, the slots came into Pennsylvania. What effect did it have on the farm?
Well, a lot of positive effects, as the legislation was intended to do, and then there's some that aren't so positive, and that is we've seen a very big increase in the demand for racehorses and not a comparable increase for yearlings. We are currently working on legislation to mitigate that and improve the 2- and 3-year-old racing in Pennsylvania, and stay tuned.
Current rumor has it that keeping legislation in place in Pennsylvania is, I guess it's up in the air. Where's that left at?
There's currently pending legislation to cut the purses from all of racing, thoroughbred and standardbred, in Pennsylvania by 16% for the next 4 years. That legislation hasn't passed yet, although I think it probably will. That should be mitigated by the fact that there are more slot parlors to come online, and that will help lessen the blow. It's also should be a warning to all other jurisdictions to stay vigilant, because as deficits increase in state governments, they're going to be looking for money everywhere. We're just one of many jurisdictions that's vulnerable.
At least Pennsylvania has the slots and not New Jersey.
We have the slots. Now our job is to protect them.
Well, thanks for giving me some insight and giving me a tour of the 3,000-acre farm. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Well, that'll do it for this episode of Harness Central. We're back at the region of Waterloo Airport after a safe ride. I hope you enjoyed another episode of Harness Central.